ARK did buy some Hood on Friday, 2.4 million shares, unloaded some Spotify. But to your point about revisiting some of the books, upgrades today for Tesla, for Netflix, for Spotify.
Right. I mean, one of the things that's so difficult for the retail investors, they all have to cut the price targets. So I'm used to when a price target is cut, Carl, for the stock to go down. But like ServiceNow, if you're using a $700 price target, you want to raise your rating or boost ServiceNow. At the same time, you got to cut the price target. And these stocks have come down to the point where it's like, listen, I'm raising my rating X, but I'm cutting my price target 150. It's just not. It's hard for retail people to understand if there really is enthusiasm. Meantime, there were some bad earnings at the end of last week that we really didn't spend that much time on. I happen to like the stock. I happen to like Caterpillar very much. But when you listen to that call, the expenses, the margins, terrible. I mean, and they did good. They had great orders, but it was terrible. VF Corp. Yeah. Rather terrible. Vans, big slowdown in China. And then the one that we didn't talk about at all, 3M, this combat arms litigation. And how at one point in Steve Tusa's note, he says it could be an unfathomable risk to 3M.
I feel like people were saying that about PFAS with the water.
Talc.
Well, not talc with 3M.
Right.
Yeah. And that's, these companies have a litigation strategy that seems to manage and contain these risks for long periods of time.
But I thought what was interesting was there was an article in the New York Times that was very negative, January 28th, about the combat arms. This is just for hearing. But what happens is, first you get the negative, and then you can put the negative into context. And so 3M says, listen, we're fighting vigorously, and go read our filings. So then I said, shoot, then you suddenly discover, wow, this is a little worse than I thought. This is what happened with talc. And then it settles in, and you realize it was a mistake to sell 3M off of it. But while you're reading it, while you're reading Steve Tusa's piece, the great J.P. Morgan analyst, he at one point he just says, look, I'm going to use a figure, and I really regret it, but $1 trillion. Now, that's just, to me, ludicrous. But, then I start thinking about asbestos.
But to your point about, Caterpillar, today it's Otis, guides below.
I know,
and full year.
That wasn't unusual, and there it is again. What is it? It's China slowing. I don't know if you guys caught Eunice Yu's incredible piece this morning, but it just seems like everyone in China's on a line for testing. The productivity in China has to be just terrible.
We've talked about this for a number of weeks now, and it has continued to be a key question as to how much the economy is slowing as a result of their zero COVID policy, which continues, unlike virtually every other nation in the world
Otis
at
was
this
all
point.
China. The weakness was all China.
Right. But what about the property sector there? I mean, they continue to say that it wasn't going to impact them, but it does. I mean, it's hard to imagine it's not.
Well, the state-owned enterprises are still building. There are 10,000, I think Trudy Marks will tell you, there's 10,000 different developers over there, and all we do is we hear about the worst ones. But at the same time, there's no doubt about it. China is a different animal than it was 6 months ago. And we don't know how much of it is trying to have pollution-free, how much is actually a change in pollution, and how much of it is a level of control of COVID that just seems a zero COVID policy without the right vaccines.
Well.